the well-awaited video for your argumentative paper. Anything that interests you can be a topic of interest for others. Don't think that you have to pick a topic that has a lot of stuff you can research or something that just happens to be prevalent in society today. Anything that's important to you will be important to the reader as long as you have a logical, well thought out, and well researched argument. The topic proposal. Step 1. Do some good brainstorming or free writing before you begin your proposal. See the handout that I put down there. It gives you those type of free writing exercises that you can do in your journal. Get on paper what you already know about this topic. Hopefully you've chosen a topic that you're passionate about or that you think is important or that you've always wanted to know about. And if you're in the service learning class, then of course it should stem from the volunteer work that you're doing. Explain what you find interesting about this topic. You may include anecdotal and experiential evidence in your proposal. Your final the final draft of your argument will contain, of course, stories, short narratives. In fact, that's an excellent way to get into the paper. We did look at several essays this semester that did relate narrative type essays to fortify their point, because it does kind of lend a little bit of expertise when you have personal experience or knowledge of the particular subject. I want you to think about why this topic is something that you want to pursue. I guess this is most important because if the reader does not understand from reading your argument that this is extremely important to you, then they won't want to read it either. And I think you got that gist from the essays you read this semester. What do you wonder about it? What are those questions? Remember, it's all about questions. And see, what questions do you have about it? Don't be afraid to ask too many questions, because it really will help to ferret out the underlying meaning to your argument. Brainstorming and mind mapping. Well, brainstorming is all that messy, gooey stuff that you do in your journal, and it usually stems from some kind of free writing exercise, which, as I said, I do prep you for in that handout for the topic proposal. And then do some mind mapping. This is a very surface example of what a mind map looks at. I'm using smoking as my visual target in this presentation. Although I won't actually be doing an argument, I do show you visually how, without even making too many written statements, I can make a statement about how I feel about smoking at this time. In this particular mind map, I just start with the topic, which is smoking, and then I just start with the largest questions I might have, so I can branch out from that. Knowing the risk, why do people smoke? It causes many diseases. Young adults are really starting to smoke, and that we can no longer smoke in public places, and yet smoking is still prevalent. And so many arguments can stem from these basic ideas. Sometimes it's all about the question, and here we are back about questions. When presenting an argument, it's not always about making the reader change her mind. Oftentimes it's just about making her question her own beliefs. It's not about winning. Sometimes it's about how you communicate the information, and all great arguments make people think. Think about those addresses and speeches that we had to look at this semester. Martin Luther King, a very strong speaker. Winston Churchill, if you went that way. There's JFK, another amazing speaker. They are not necessarily trying to convince you of one thing or another. They're just trying to get you to think about their position on certain things. And, well, all of those men really were talking about freedom and equality, about everyone functioning on the same level, and about peace, and about working together. And they weren't like trying to pitch a fight or have a debate. They just wanted you to listen. So, we want to look at the research statement. I'm studying the subject, whatever it is. In this case, like, all the photos have to do with smoking, because I want to find out how, why, and or whether. My research. We'll talk about teens. So we're studying teen smoking because I want to know why the smoking within teens is on a rise. And it matters to me because I want to understand what in society makes teens want to smoke, because there's overwhelming evidence that says that smoking kills. And so here's a little graphic that has 3 young adults, probably, well, I don't know, they're probably our age, or well, anyway, they're in a circle and they're all lighting each other's cigarette, which might go to prove the smoking is a social activity point. You should have one message and an idea where it will lead. What path are you taking the reader down? What do you want them to learn, understand, and consider? This is an important thing to think about. What is it you want them to consider? The reader, what one message are you trying to convey? You have a message, you have supporting claims, you have evidence to support your supporting claims which support your thesis, and then you have examples of evidence that support your supporting claims that supports your thesis. It's like a big house. Anything's missing, it's going to come tumbling down. And remember, in the end, everything is an argument. So what is the message? These are questions you want to think about. What do you want to communicate? What is the main idea? What subclaims form the body of your argument and support your thesis or main idea? What kind of evidence have you provided? What kind of examples are you using to support that evidence? And what do you want the reader to consider? Always come back to that. See, here's another graphic. The smoking gun. I think it's kind of funny. Making a visual statement. Sometimes an argument can be reinforced and strengthened by the right visuals. The visuals, such as photos, graphs, charts, or even comics, can be effective communication tools when used in the correct context. I invite you to use visuals in your written paper as a way of as an extension of your argument and as a way of reinforcing what you want to say. Just make sure that what you're using really does communicate what you want to. Don't just use it because it's a cool picture. Here, I want you to put out that cigarette. Again, this gives a more national view to stopping smoking. It's not just local. It's not just me. Graphs and bar charts often detail statistics, which can be used as evidence as a way to help reinforce your position. I just put this in there to show you how they can be used as an example. It tells where the test is, who they were testing, and what they're testing for. It's all visually exact and clear, which is what you want to look for in your visuals. Comic strips or cartoons. I picked this one because I like irony and parody, and this is in a parallel universe. Normally we'd see a no smoking sign, but here it's a no human sign. And at the end of a bad day, he could just kill a human right now. Just like humans say, man, do I need a cigarette, but cigarette kills. You get it? So in the end, it's about asking the right question. Why? Always ask why. Always ask why. It doesn't matter if you think you're at the end of your argument. Continue to ask why. Although this visual does not really go with the smoking motif that I had going, it is one of the strongest visual arguments that I've seen in many years. Don't drink and drive. It brings it to life.